You all remember StarClan's basic explanation of this clan trial. You are to trust in the loyalty of your clanmates, discuss openly with one another, present your evidence, and, ultimately, name and vote on the culprit of Ashfur's murder. StarClan has already determined that the murderer is one of the 15 cats debating on this gathering island today. Please, remember that we're all still one clan. We're kin. Lawless accusations without a basis have no business here.
Firestar, you make it sound easy. Like your clan of misfits will step forward and name the culprit right away. Remember, the murderer is going to do everything they can to steal the conversation away from themselves. I mean, they are a cold-blooded killer after all.
I, for one, can't wait to see ThunderClan fall into the despair of distrust in one another. I should have brought fresh kill.
Blackstar, knock it off, you mouse brain. We're here to oversee a fair trial, as StarClan said. We don't want to lose their faith in communication with the clans. Take this seriously.
Fine. I find it cruel that we need to be here to oversee a ThunderClan issue to begin with. Our clans haven't broken the code as much as them.
That's enough, Blackstar. Or do I need to remind you of Tigerstar's reign?
ShadowClan is much better than that tyrant ever took us for. Don't speak his name in front of me.
Firestar, in essence of this fair trial, may I ask a question?
What is it, Leopardstar?
What will become of the culprit? I only ask as to understand proper punishment. Sure, StarClan wants this trial to test ThunderClan's loyalty, but what of the one trying to hide it all? StarClan mentioned very little of a possible punishment. I just wanted to make sure you had a plan.
The murderer of Ashfur will be dealt with on ThunderClan's grounds. We will see to it that the culprit will be punished for the crime they have committed.
In other words, it's a clever way of saying, stay out of it, Leopardstar.
Very well, Firestar. You may continue.
You all remember the stakes of this trial. StarClan has declared that if the name is not agreed upon or incorrect at the end of this trial, there will be no further contact with our warrior ancestors. To the culprit of Ashfur's murder, I invite you one last time to end this needless trial and come forward. We don't need this.
Seems as if your clan has more secrets than you thought, Fire.
So be it. ThunderClan, let the trial begin.
With all due respect, where do we begin?
That's a great question. We spent all day collecting evidence, but we don't know where to start presenting it.
Yeah, collecting evidence. That's what I spent my day doing.
We could start at the scene of the crime. How we found the body and what the medicine cats were able to find.
My sibling's body is the last thing I wish to remember right now. To think that StarClan deemed me a suspect when Ashfur is... was kin of mine?
Way to subtly claim that you aren't the culprit. I see what—
Hey! Don't you start accusing her now. I know she wouldn't have killed—
I agree with Brambleclaw. Before we go too far, we need to establish what you all saw at the scene of the crime. Despite how hard it must be for Cloud.
Was that sympathy in his voice? I know grief is hard, but I never expected that to come out of a sharp-tongued mouth. Especially now. He was so angry during my investigation. Did something change?
We all remember what we saw. Ashfur, dead, on the shore of the lake.
Must have been near the edge of ThunderClan territory. Discovered as we were all going to the gathering.
Thornclaw discovered the body alone. I sent him ahead to look for Ashfur that night.
The body was—
Alright, that's it. I'm going to end this trial easily. I know who murdered Ashfur.
Oh no. This can't be good.
Cloudtail! Remember what Firestar said? Baseless accusations don't work.
Exactly! How can you distrust your clanmates so easily?
You better not, you Foxheart. I'd rather have a piece of fresh kill at this trial than the former kitty pet.
Well, if you're so confident, Cloudtail, out with it then. Who did it?
It's obvious. Isn't it?
Obvious? He doesn't mean.
Thornclaw murdered Ashfur. He was the only one alone with Ashfur on the night of the gathering. Being the first one to discover the body? It's such an easy cover-up. No one would suspect a thing.
Did you fall into the lake and come out half-drowned? I couldn't have possibly done that.
Sure, make up stories and lies all you like, Thornclaw. You thought you could get away with it too.
Do you have any evidence that Thornclaw did it, Cloudtail?
Well, No, I don't.
Then we can't conclude that—
Because he destroyed all of the evidence before calling us over on the night of the gathering.
Hard to believe you're Firestar's kin. I don't know about the storage capacity of this one's head.
I'd say you're as dumb as a rock. But I think even a pebble has more use.
Fine then. Prove it. Find evidence to prove that Thornclaw couldn't have killed Ashfur that night.
I have to step in here or Cloudtail will spin us all in circles. There's no way that Thornclaw could have murdered Ashfur that night. It's just not possible. And I can prove it.
I'll tell you all what happened. Thornclaw saw Ashfur going to the gathering. And when Brambleclaw asked Thornclaw to go on ahead, he took his opportunity and snuffed out the Tom right then and there. He's always disagreed with Ashfur's passiveness to his ideals.
Just because Brambleclaw told me to go ahead doesn't mean I had anything to do with it. Why would you even consider it? Besides, there wasn't even enough time to kill Ashfur, let alone destroy evidence.
Your head really is as fluffy on the inside as it is on the outside, isn't it, Cloudtail?
I'll tell you all what happened. Thornclaw saw Ashfur going to the gathering.
No, that's wrong! Cloudtail, Ashfur was known as missing the day of the gathering. I would know. I assigned patrols each day and confirm it with Firestar.
Firestar even called a meeting to say Ashfur was missing. Are you saying you weren't there?
I was asleep.
If Thornclaw saw Ashfur going to the gathering, his first duty as a warrior would be to report the missing cat to me or Firestar.
Well, if Thornclaw wanted to kill Ashfur, he wouldn't report it if he saw him.
The only time I saw Ashfur was dead on the shore. Cloudtail, what is wrong with you? Brambleclaw, how long was I gone before I called ThunderClan to the body?
I wasn't keeping exact time, but it couldn't have been long. About as long as it takes for Graystripe to scarf down a piece of fresh kill.
Oh, that's fast.
Hey!
I couldn't have murdered Ashfur in that time. Your argument falls apart, Cloudtail. So quick to accuse. What if you're trying to cover up your own murder by blaming me? Trying to play a real smart game, aren't you? Kitty pets like you can't fool me, you lying piece of fox.
Thornclaw, silence! I will not have a fight on this ground. Please remember why we are here. You are to work together, not against one another.
Oh, I would have enjoyed seeing that.
I haven't seen Firestar this upset in a while. This must really be getting to him.
Despite the idiotic accusation, it did bring up a good question. When was Ashfur murdered?
Huh? When was Ashfur murdered?
Brambleclaw stated that Ashfur was missing while assigning border patrols that morning. Firestar confirmed suspicions and labeled Ashfur as missing Sunhigh the day of the gathering.
Which means, from dawn until Ashfur was found, no one saw him. Is that correct?
Do you think he was already dead?
That would explain how no one was able to find him. No one would think to check an area that far away from camp.
Could someone have slipped away while on patrol?
Border patrols don't split up, if at all. Not to mention, I didn't assign many due to the gathering being that night. It's never a good idea to overwork warriors on the night of a gathering.
So, most of the apprentices and warriors stayed in camp the day of the gathering.
I spent the rest of it teaching my kids the hunter's crouch.
Very badly, I might add. The fact that we were able to become a warrior is both surprising and disappointing.
We still can't ignore this giant gap of time. Brambleclaw, despite keeping an eye on warriors for patrols, it's still possible someone could have done it while on a hunting patrol.
I agree with Brambleclaw. Border patrols stick together throughout the path. Splitting up would make us look weak to other clans. However, I also agree with Dustpelt. Ashfur missing the full day? Someone could have easily slipped away while hunting. Brambleclaw, who did you assign on a hunting patrol that day?
Yeah, we can lower our list of possible suspects.
No one that is currently here debating, I'm afraid.
What?
No one on this island went on an assigned hunting patrol on the day of the gathering. By StarClan's logic, that means each hunting patrol I sent that day couldn't have killed Ashfur.
I feared as much.
Does the when really matter here? It's clear because of the time frame we can't know exactly when he died.
It is important. As soon as we know when the culprit committed the crime, we can pinpoint locations of cats near the area at the time.
And once we do that, uncovering the culprit's story will be easy.
Do you all really believe that the culprit will say they were near the lake at all at this point? We've already given up so much information that Ferncloud is right. If we know when Ashfur died, the culprit can just say they were in camp at the time of death and no one can fight them.
Not exactly. The culprit will be lying about having seen Ashfur, yes, but their story is bound to fall apart. It's not hard to keep track of warriors throughout the day. especially if you need a roll call for a gathering. Which everyone here was going to the night we found Ashfur, so everyone needed to be accounted for. The more truth we reveal, the harder it is for the culprit to keep their story straight.
Then I ask again, when did Ashfur die?
Cinderheart is right. Pinpointing the time of the death could be crucial to this mystery. I have to think. I should know more than any cat here, as I assigned patrols that day. Each hunting group had cats who aren't here. And if most of the other cats stayed in camp throughout the day to save energy for the gathering, then... This has to be it. Ashfur had to have died the night before the gathering.
The night before the gathering? How do you figure, Brambleclaw?
It's a puzzle, but piece it together and it's the only time that makes sense. No one here claims to have seen Ashfur the day of the gathering. Ashfur was labeled missing sun high of that day. As Sandstorm stated, most cats were in camp preparing for the gathering. No one from the hunting patrols I assigned are here on this island. The border patrol I assigned went to the top reaches of our territory on ShadowClan's side. There isn't a possibility that they could have split and met with Ashfur on the opposite side of the territory without being missed. Think about it. Why would a cat kill in broad daylight near WindClan's border with the risk of being seen?
Or heard. If there was a struggle, both cats would be yowling. That'd be sure to grab the attention from nearby patrols, ThunderClan or not. A silent sneak attack can only work at night.
I can confirm. I spent the latter half of the day after my announcement looking for Ashfur. The warrior was eager to go to the gathering. I had given up around sundown when I couldn't find a trace.
He was eager to go to the gathering. Do you know why that was, Firestar?
He didn't tell me. I found it strange.
The evidence you're bringing is circumstantial, Brambleclaw. Your logic makes sense, but this could be the killer's trap. How can we know this was done the night before?
I'll show you how. Does anyone here remember waking up and seeing Ashfur in the warrior's den? Possibly speaking to him or seeing him throughout the morning?
You're right, Brambleclaw. I don't remember seeing him that morning. I can't believe I missed this. How could I have...
It's okay, FernCloud. We didn't know. We couldn't have known. No cat exactly pays attention to their surroundings when they wake up.
Dustpelt, this is my kin we're talking about. Maybe if I just paid more attention, or knew he wouldn't be there, I could have... Oh, I'm so sorry, Ashfur.
Poor FernCloud. I know she blames herself for what happened, but this isn't her fault. The only one who caused this is the one who murdered Ashfur. That's why we're all here. I've got to find them.
If no one further objects to Brambleclaw, then we can confirm it. Ashfur died the night before the gathering.
Thank you, Cinderheart. This hopefully clears up questions we all...
Good try, Brambleclaw. I can tell you're trying to defend your buddy over there. You're clearly his accomplice. You two planned it all out.
Cloudtail, what is wrong with you? Why are you so desperate to pin this on Thornclaw? We're trying to find the murderer here, and it's best if we consider what actually happened.
Oh, real clever. Keep spinning your tall tail, Brambleclaw, but you aren't fooling me. very convenient of the deputy to defend Thornclaw like this. It's obvious what you two did. You sent Ashfur off on a patrol early in the morning. Meanwhile, Thornclaw went and slaughtered the defenseless cat.
Cloudtail, this doesn't make any sense. StarClan said it was one cat, not two working together. I was in the Warriors' Den with everyone else. Even I don't remember seeing Ashfur. That's what started Firestar's worry that Ashfur went missing.
Okay, I'll believe you. For now. Who cares what StarClan said? Only one cat needed to kill him. The other would help to cover it up. Let's say Ashfur really was killed the night before the gathering. That still doesn't clear Thornclaw's name. You could have sent Ashfur out at night to where Thornclaw was lying in wait. Alone with Ashfur, he sliced his throat.
I'll cut through those words. Cloudtail, Thornclaw wasn't alone with Ashfur at all. It's impossible he could have been.
What do you mean?
I sent Thornclaw, Dustpelt, and Sandstorm on the midnight patrol the night before the gathering.
What? And you just now bring this up?
I can confirm both Thornclaw and Sandstorm were with me that night.
I can as well. Cloudtail, please calm down and listen.
So you're all in on it?
Cloudtail, think for a moment if you have the capacity to. No one here would ever want to kill Ashfur. What reason would we have?
This is our alibi. It can't be fought against, Cloudtail.
The evidence as it stands doesn't point to either of those three being the one who murdered Ashfur.
Fine.
Cloudtail is definitely hiding something. This isn't right. There has to be a reason he tried so hard to accuse Thornclaw, or anyone for that matter. I just need to figure out what that is. Despite how obvious it may feel, I can't bring myself to think Cloudtail did it.
So, we now can safely assume without objection that Ashfur was murdered the night before the gathering. That means his dead body was laying out all day next to the lake. All day.
I can't imagine.
While that argument was insightful, it still leaves a large gap for the actual time of death. There has to be something that can tell us more, to narrow down the time. Just saying at night doesn't give us the strongest conclusion.
She's right, as usual. There has to be something to narrow down the time period.
Say this really was in the dead of night. How could any one of us be able to tell? The only cats awake at the time was the midnight patrol, which we've established all have alibis. And the posted night guard at the entrance. What kind of cat would be willingly out that late anyway? Sleep is just a little more important if you ask me.
Many cats here are hiding behind secrets, Graystripe. Pay attention.
Cinderheart? How can you be so skeptical? We're a clan. A family. I still highly doubt one of us would have even been capable of murdering Ashfur to begin with.
I know what you mean, Squirrelflight, but I can't shake this feeling. Something tells me this will get worse before it gets better.
What in StarClan do you
Secrets can kill, Squirrelflight. I know that more than anyone.
Who here was the last to see Ashfur alive? We can narrow the time of death from there.
Good. Let's start there. I know it seems redundant, but it'd be better if we were all on the same page. This way, mishaps like what Cloudtail dragged us through won't happen again.
Who was the last to see Ashfur? I think I have an idea. What was all that about, though? Secrets? I know Squirrelflight and Leafpool are littermates. They would know things about each other that I don't, but is Squirrelflight hiding something from me? She wanted to tell me something during the investigation, so maybe? I have to stay focused. I can still help my clanmates if we're all in this together.
Alright, out with it. Who was the last one to see my littermate?
Well, the murderer, obviously.
Mousebrain, we all know that.
Well, I know who couldn't see him.
If you say one more word, you'll somehow find thorns in your bedding for the next moon.
The last time I saw him, he was eating fresh kill in camp. Must have been around sundown.
Did anyone see him leave camp?
Did he ask anyone to go on a hunting patrol?
Could he have snuck out of camp without anyone's knowledge?
We're getting nowhere.
Alright, out with it. Who was the last one to see my littermate?
Well, the murderer, obviously.
Mousebrain, we all know that.
Well, I know who couldn't see him.
If you say one more word, you'll somehow find thorns in your bedding for the next moon.
The last time I saw him, he was eating fresh kill in camp. Must have been around sundown.
Did anyone see him leave camp?
I agree! We can narrow down the time of death further. Someone here confirmed with me that they saw Ashfur leave the camp that night. Brackenfur, can you explain what you saw?
Yeah, of course. I almost forgot. I was eating fresh kill with Ashfur that night. Everything seemed fine, like a regular night. Then, all of a sudden, he stood up and said he had to leave.
Did he say where he was going or what he was doing?
Well, not exactly.
What do you mean?
When he got up, I tried to ask what was going on. We were in the middle of a conversation, after all. He didn't give me a straight answer. Just said, I have to go meet someone, and walked out of camp. He didn't look okay. Like something was bothering him, or he was sick. He left a small scrap of the fresh kill he was eating behind.
Okay, that's the real crime here.
He said he had to meet someone? When was this, Brackenfur?
It must have been just after moonrise. I didn't think much of it at the time, and went to the warrior's den soon after.
Do you think?
Of course! Isn't it obvious? Whoever he met up with must have killed him. That is where we'll find our murderer.
Well, who did it? Who met up with Ashfur? Right. I guess that method won't work.
I think Graystripe caught whatever disease Cloudtail has.
I, for one, am of the opinion that we settled too soon on the when.
What do you mean, Hollyleaf? I thought we all agreed that the best time to consider the crime was the
Suggestions! Those were all suggestions. We don't have any evidence. Sure, we can take your word for it, but that doesn't sit right, does it?
Why is she fighting this so hard?
We've been over this so many times.
Being thorough and following the rules to the way that they were laid out doesn't hurt, Thornclaw.
Hollyleaf, calm down. Actually, we do have hard evidence that cooperates with Brambleclaw's timeline.
You do?
The murder of Ashfur had to be on the night before the gathering.
Jayfeather is right. The body itself can tell us more about when it died than you'd expect.
You can tell by the contractions of the muscles. During the autopsy, we discovered that Ashfur's muscles were stiff. This typically occurs after half a day or more has passed. A dead body will go limp, an old body will stiffen.
You can tell all of that just from feeling the body and not seeing it? Jayfeather, you scare me sometimes.
Good.
Don't mind him. But, Hollyleaf, this means we do have the evidence you need. The time of death is much more likely to be that night. These contractions last up to 2 days after death.
And since Brackenfur saw Ashfur alive just after moonrise, this gives us our exact window.
He died just after midnight the night before the gathering.
Because he wasn't accounted for the following day's patrols, it's safe to finally assume this timeline is correct. There's just too much evidence pointing to this night than anything else. If anyone has objections, I invite you to present your evidence to another time period now.
So, now we know when he died. The reason I didn't bring this up sooner is because you all failed to realize that we're just back to square one. Like I said, the culprit can say they were sleeping in camp all night. They could have slipped out of camp undetected, killed Ashfur, and slipped right back in without being noticed. All of this talk about when Ashfur died caused us to be so deep in the culprit's trap that we—
No, Jayfeather. What you failed to notice is that this wasn't a planned murder.
What?
Or at least, I hope it wasn't. Do you remember how we found the body that night? Thornclaw, can you describe what you saw as best as you can? This is important.
Oh, okay, I'll do my best. It was dark, but because of the full moon, visibility wasn't terrible. When Brambleclaw asked me to go on ahead, I didn't know what I'd find, and I won't ever forget it now. I thought it was a strange set of rocks, or a log that washed up on the shore at first. But when I got closer, that's when I saw his face. His twisted face. I was so freaked out, I froze for a few moments. It wasn't until a wave crashed on his tail that I knew it had to be real.
What if...
What was that? Does Jayfeather know something?
What I'm trying to say is, if someone planned on killing Ashfur and asked to meet up with him only to kill him, why leave his body out in the open?
Sure, it was on the edge of our territory, but Brightheart makes a good point. Would the culprit really have been this sloppy when carrying out a planned murder? Causing all of us to see the body a day later just leaves more clues behind.
If it was planned, could they have planned it out to look innocent as we all discovered the body together?
But that's so evil.
Lionblaze makes a good point. Discovering the body alongside the rest of us gives them a clear way to blend in.
This could have easily been in the heat of the moment, too. Or rage-filled with emotion.
Something the culprit couldn't help at the time.
Wouldn't the killer want to get rid of as much evidence as possible? Not hiding the body leaves it open for discovery rather than speculation.
Getting rid of evidence? Isn't that why Ashfur was killed by the lake to begin with? That's the easiest way to get rid of evidence. What proof can stay behind when constant waves sweep up any fur or cover any paw steps in the sand and gravel?
They're all right. Everyone seems so confused on this. I can't tell if the murder was deliberate or not either. Could it be possible that it was all just an accident? Is StarClan wrong? Or was it made to look like an accident, and we're just playing directly into the culprit's paws, like Jay Feather said? I can't tell. If we can't tell the accuracy of the motive, let's find out who could have been out there to kill Ashfur instead. This must have been someone who left camp after Brackenfur saw Ashfur leave.
No one followed him out immediately after.
I should have sent more patrols. Maybe this wouldn't have happened. I only sent the midnight patrol, which we established was Thornclaw, Dustpelt, and Sandstorm. They have their alibi. The only other cat supposed to be awake was Cloudtail, who I posted as the night guard for that night.
And I didn't see anything suspicious. That's right, nothing.
Regardless, what you actually ended up doing, Brambleclaw, was you left the forest open. You left Ashfur unguarded. You left that night open for old grudges to be taken care of. Ashfur died with no witnesses because of your incompetence!
Jayfeather! What's gotten into you? That's no way to talk to your father.
I know Jay Feather is upset. We're all upset, but that was uncalled for. Did something happen to cause Jay Feather to have such hatred towards me? Does he blame me?
Someone had to be out there. If what Brightheart said was true, then they weren't leaving the camp with the intent of hiding a murder. They wouldn't be worried about who saw them. Once we find out who that was, that's our culprit.
This is all going so fast, I haven't had much time to think. This feels wrong. Like I'm hearing conversations I shouldn't be hearing. Like secrets that should never see the light of day are about to be shined down upon like it's sun high. Is ThunderClan really this secretive? Is this what StarClan meant? Not the intent of murder, but the intent of revealing secrets? Why? I have to focus. There's an inconsistency in someone's story here. Someone isn't telling the whole truth of what happened that night. I just need to find their argument and break it.
So we know it's possible that the murderer wasn't intent on killing Ashfur.
Or if they were, they had to be careful when leaving the camp. To meet Ashfur at the lake that late at night? They could have snuck out at any time.
We need to focus on who wasn't in camp at all that night.
I was at the night guard post, watching the entrance like a hawk. Squirrelflight's right. They must have snuck right past me to get to Ashfur.
I can verify that me and Jayfeather were in the medicine den all night.
The sound of her snoring nearly kept me awake all night.
The warrior's den was full, despite the few who went on patrol. It's hard to notice when we're all drowsy.
I don't snore that loudly.
So we know it's possible that the murderer wasn't intent on killing Ashfur.
Or if they were, they had to be careful when leaving the camp. To meet Ashfur at the lake that late at night? They could have snuck out at any time.
We need to focus on who wasn't in camp at all that night.
I was at the night guard post, watching the entrance.
That can't be right.
Cloudtail, what you said makes no sense at all.
What do you mean? You were the one who posted me on guard duty. It's not my fault a cat snuck past me. I didn't even fall asleep this time.
That's not an achievement, Cloudtail.
You were assigned to guard the entrance that night. You're correct. assigned to be at your post just after moonrise. So you never claiming to see Ashfur checks out. But what doesn't...
Cloudtail, how come we didn't see you at the guard post when we left for the midnight patrol?
I thought it was strange at the time, but I didn't think much of it. Maybe Brambleclaw just forgot to place a guard. I wouldn't put it past him.
You think too little of me, Sandstorm.
Little is right.
Well, I mean, I was probably in the dirt place. Yeah, that's it.
I even went to check on you when I couldn't sleep. Cloudtail, you weren't there. Where were you? Don't lie to me now.
Lie to you? I'd never... I went to my post. If I wasn't there, maybe I was sleepwalking?
You just said you didn't fall asleep.
This just tells us you can't be trusted as a night guard anymore.
That, and you could very well be the murderer. Trying to accuse Thornclaw and Brambleclaw from the get-go. Keeping your eyes off of yourself.
Only someone guilty would be this upset. Confess already. We're not falling for your mouse-brained excuses anymore.
Are you going to defend yourself, Cloudtail? Your nervousness just paints your acts as desperation. Do you understand why we're asking? If you don't say anything, we'll vote you as the culprit. Is this what you want?
Could this really mean? No. I have to keep digging. There has to be a reason why Cloudtail wasn't at his post. He just won't admit it. Why? What does he think will happen if he reveals where he was? In the forest? By the lake? I don't believe he killed Ashfur. Not until he gives me a viable reason to suspect him. But I need to get to the bottom of this before the clan votes him as a murderer. I have to tell him something he doesn't want to hear. This has to be it. Cloudtail left his post on his own. He walked away from it.
What?
The Midnight Patrol didn't see you. Brightheart didn't see you. The killer could have gotten in and out of camp with ease. You would have spoken up sooner if you were attacked or detained by the culprit. Blackmail to stay quiet doesn't work in a clan trial. Cloudtail, one more time, for the sake of ThunderClan, where were you?
Cloudtail? Please.
I don't want to think you're the killer, Cloudtail.
But if you don't talk, we all will.
Not that this maggot head cares if StarClan abandons us anyway.
I left to go to a two-leg tent, okay?
Cloudtail?
I don't need to hear it again from you, Firestar. I'm sorry.
Kitty pets will always be kitty pets.
Went to a two-leg tent? ThunderClan has those?
ShadowClan does too, but at least ShadowClan warriors know how not to be soft.
We sometimes see two legs use monsters to go to the lake. They're horrible at fishing.
Imagine falling prey to those foolish desires like a kitty pet. Couldn't be us.
Blackstar, enough. This isn't getting us anywhere.
Cloudtail.
Okay, I admit it. On a hunting patrol not too long ago, I spotted the tent. And they spotted me. as I turned to run away, as all good warriors would, I heard something hit the ground. The smell hit my nose almost instantly. It was delicious. I couldn't turn away.
Not again. We've been through this before. You got caught last time and were forced inside the den of a two-leg. Did you think this would be that okay to try again?
You don't know how it tasted. It was irresistible.
In other words, you put the camp in danger to satisfy your desire for two-leg slop.
I had to get another bite. I thought since I was assigned as night guard, it was the perfect opportunity. So I left my post. I had to get another bite.
Where was this two-leg tent?
Oh, I would say, once you leave the camp, go left about a tree length. From there on, you'll want to head to the top of the ShadowClan border. You'll pass the rock that looks like Graystripe and he's eaten too many rabbits. Once you're there, turn back into ThunderClan territory for about 3 tree lengths. A clearing will open up, and the tent is located at the far side of this clearing. But that's only a rough estimate.
And you remembered all of that? If you didn't have the nose for a kitty pet, you'd actually be a decent warrior. Too bad the temptation to eat two-leg slop overpowered that final brain cell you have.
So, if I understand correctly, what you described is nowhere near the lake at all, correct? The top of ShadowClan's territory is in the exact opposite direction.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
You mean you didn't know? How much tunnel vision did you have for this two-leg tent?
Final brain cells, right.
From what you described, you claim to be nowhere near the scene of the crime. Is this right, Cloudtail?
Yes! I couldn't have killed Ashfur.
Could have just said that from the beginning.
But while you left your post, the killer was able to leave camp and come back like nothing happened. You left Ashfur defenseless. While you were engorging yourself, our clanmate died. I'm so disappointed in you, Cloudtail.
So what we've concluded is, what Cloudtail did that night doesn't matter. This doesn't bring us any closer to the culprit. Why? Why is the culprit hiding?
You're right, Ferncloud. Cloudtail leaving his post, while mouse-brained, doesn't tell us anything.
I won't believe a word this Foxheart says. Are we really going to believe a story like that?
Hiding behind being a kitty pet won't be enough.
Hold on. We can't just assume...
Everyone knows Cloudtail doesn't believe in our warrior ancestors. Why should he care about being here? About preserving our rights to be a clan? Do you want us to be a band of rogues, Cloudtail?
He could be telling the truth. From what I've seen, Cloudtail has no quarrel with Ashfur. Cloudtail couldn't have known this was the outcome to a murder. He had no reason to kill.
Honest, I never had anything against Ashfur. I promise.
Your promises don't mean so much as a mouse tail right now. However, it's still too soon to vote.
Too soon to vote? He prepared this two-leg tent as a cover-up. Prepared to risk all of your dignity to hide the murder you committed. Think about how he accused Thornclaw. He's guilty, and you can see it all over his face. Let's start the vote.
Start the vote? We need to be unanimous on the culprit before that.
You're leaping the gap too early. What happens if we get this wrong? You can claim that we're basing this on Cloudtail's lie, but assuming he's lying is circumstantial as well. Stop blindly running in without a clear plan.
I, for one, want proof of anything before we start voting. voting solely on his guilt of eating two-leg food isn't right.
If we have no other leads...
He's lying! Just look at him! Cloudtail can't even come up with one bit of truth about that night. He has nothing!
Do you have anything to say in your defense, Cloudtail?
You can't just... I mean... Sure, I was, but that doesn't mean I... Come on, guys, please, I already confessed everything. Thornclaw, I'm sorry for accusing you. I just didn't want anyone to know. Having ThunderClan discover my secret... Fine. If the pain of my truth isn't enough for you, Brackenfur is right. I've had no quarrel with Ashfur. I didn't have a motive. What reason could I have? StarClan abandoning you all isn't enough. I care about this clan and everyone in it, even if I started as a kitty pet. Even if I don't believe in StarClan. I want you all to survive. ThunderClan's my home, and forever will be. I'm sorry about what I did. It's easy to say that leaving my post was how Ashfur died, but I didn't kill him. If this murder was about motives, then you're talking to the wrong cat. Those three are the ones who spoke to the victim in secret just before the body turned up. Maybe you should talk to them first.
What does he mean? Jayfeather, Lionblaze, and Hollyleaf all spoke to Ashfur? Cloudtail is backed into a corner. There isn't a way he could be making this up. Could he? What would those three have to talk with Ashfur about? Does Squirrelflight know something? She can't be.
Yeah, all three of them spoke to Ashfur at separate times. They did it in secret, too. Each time Ashfur left upset or angry, they have something against him.
Ashfur left angry? Why? Did you overhear what they said?
They have something against him? How could my kits have something against Ashfur? What did Ashfur do to them?
No, I was too far to hear.
Then how do you expect us to believe?
Lionblaze talked to his old mentor during a hunting party. I was just coming back when I heard both of them storm off.
What?
Hollyleaf spoke to him on her own, alone. Admittedly, I was coming back from the two-leg tent at the time. They were arguing. I couldn't hear what exactly about, but insults were exchanged.
How did you?
While I wasn't a witness to Jayfeather's conversation, after the first two I kept a close eye out. Ashfur took this one the worst. He avoided Jayfeather at all costs. Sure, no one wants to be around the grump longer than they need to be, but with Ashfur was different. Too much tension to ignore.
Why, you fox-hearted little...
Can't possibly think... That's all just a coincidence.
Can you really call this a coincidence when it was all three of them? Squirrelflight, Brambleclaw, do you know why?
No, this is my first time I'm hearing of it. Ashfur usually minded his own business. I don't know what could have happened. You three, is this true? Did you all speak to Ashfur? What about?
Cloudtail, you piece of fox tongue! Was anyone there with you to witness? You don't have any hard evidence except your voice, which we've established is very unbelievable.
You have no right to throw accusations onto us without any proof.
Ashfur was my mentor. I wouldn't have anything against him.
You all spoke to him?
Squirrelflight, stop.
You didn't need to. everything was going to be okay.
Everything was going to be okay? Do you really believe the words you speak anymore? I stopped a long time ago.
You act like this wasn't your fault to
Maybe it had something to do with what happened to the camp many days ago.
What? Could you?
You were there.
How did you?
You're right, Graystripe. They all spoke to Ashfur after what happened.
You three? I'm not following. Did they talk to Ashfur or not?
It's not the time for secrets. Our clan is on the line. My brother's life was destroyed. We need answers.
What happened to the camp? Is Graystripe referring to what he told me in the investigation? That Ashfur was acting strange? My head is spinning. My kid spoke to Ashfur before the body turned up. Could either of them have a motive? No. I won't believe it. Squirrelflight, what are you hiding from me? I thought we trusted each other. I need to clear this up. I need answers from these three. Maybe if I can think of what Graystripe is referring to, we can delve deeper. Please, Star Clan, don't let one of my kits be Ashfur's murderer. Let this evidence lead to their innocence. This has to be it. Are you talking about the fire? You mentioned briefly that Ashfur was distant from everyone after that. That's the only big event I can think of that happened to ThunderClan recently. Did something happen? Squirrelflight?
A lot happened that day. It was chaos. I barely had time to worry, as I'm sure all of us were panicking. But I was trying to...
Graystripe? How much? What did you see that day? What did you see Ashfur do?
What Ashfur did? During the fire, I was helping Firestar make sure the camp was empty and that we all made it to the abandoned two-leg nest in the heart of our territory. Squirrelflight and the kids arrived late, sure, and they had me worried sick, to the point where I almost left the clan to search for them. But did Ashfur do something to them? What happened?
I didn't see much. I had to leave in a hurry, but I saw Ashfur and you pushing a fallen tree towards the flame. It took me a moment at the time to realize that Jayfeather, Lineblaze, and Hollyleaf were trapped on the other side of the fire, their flanks pinned to the cliff face of the gorge. I assumed you two knew what you were doing, and when the log pierced the fire creating an exit, I left. I'm sorry I didn't stay to help. I just had to check on Millie and my own kits.
So you didn't see...
I don't get it. This doesn't make sense. If what Graystripe says is true, how could Jayfeather, Lineblaze, and Hollyleaf make Ashfur so angry if he was saving their lives?
And it was after this fire that those three spoke to Ashfur?
That's if what Cloudtail said was true. I, for one, will not believe him anymore.
Well,
Exactly. You can't prove that Fervorbrains over here was telling the truth.
He could be making it all up to protect his flank. He doesn't know anything about
It's all right. It's all right, kids. You don't have
No!
to...
Squirrelflight. I'm not letting this go. I'm not letting anything go after that day.
Jayfeather, that's enough.
Squirrelflight, please, tell me what happened that day. You three came to the abandoned two-leg nest late. I was so worried. I thought I'd lost my kits. I thought I'd lost you, Squirrelflight.
When you showed up, you acted as if nothing was wrong. I felt relieved. But now, please.
Brambleclaw, I'm so sorry.
Squirrelflight.
All right. I'll explain to everyone here what happened that day. I'll explain how Ashfur tried to let my kids burn to death in the fire.
What?
What Graystripe said was true. Jayfeather, Lionblaze, and Hollyleaf were all trapped by the fire. When I saw Ashfur, he originally offered to help. Together, we pushed the log and blocked the fire. I was overjoyed. My kids were safe. As I began instructing them to follow the log, Ashfur pushed me aside and stood, blocking their path. He held my kids hostage! I was shocked. I couldn't move. I couldn't bring myself to attack back. I was still hurt. But he was hurt as well. And he wanted me to feel the same pain he felt. Ashfur loved me. Ashfur loved me so much. And when I chose Brambleclaw, it destroyed him. What I didn't realize is how long he carried that love with him. How much it tainted his mind. I never thought he would threaten to burn Jayfeather, Lionblaze, and Hollyleaf in front of me. The look in his eyes, that was pure evil. I got through to him, begging and pleading to keep my kids alive. He let them go. They all made it out. But that look in his eyes, I will never forget it.
He did this to you? How dare he? Why would he threaten our kids for his own selfish desires?
Brambleclaw?
He put 4 lives on the line because you chose me as your mate. That piece of fuck's dung! He had no right to put you 3 through that! If he was here right now, I'd...
Brambleclaw?
Brambleclaw, we're okay.
This murder was... He deserved it.
Brambleclaw! I'm safe. Jayfeather, Lionblaze, and Hollyleaf are safe. I know you're angry at him for what he tried to do, but he's dead now. Our kids are safe from him.
You're right, Squirrelflight. I'm sorry. At least, right now, they're safe. You're right. They're safe from him. They always will be from now on. They're safe, and that's what matters.
But we still have a problem.
A problem?
What do you mean, Ferncloud?
Brambleclaw, Squirrelflight, I know this has been a lot. I care for you all, and I'm glad none of you were hurt. But now we need to figure out which one of them killed Ashfur.